Malaysian Products campaign to boost domestic spending. Revitalize state economies for national growth. Good evening. Thank you for joining us. You're watching News at 10. I'm Cynthia Arthur. In order to revive and maintain the competitiveness of the Malaysian economy post-COVID-19, Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin has urged the people to spend for Malaysia. He said consumers should ensure that their spending is value for money, including by buying quality local products. Tan Sri Muhyiddin said the COVID-19 pandemic has been a difficult and challenging moment for Malaysia and has forced almost all countries to impose lockdowns and close their economic sectors in what has been billed as the Great Lockdown. Surveys done by the Statistics Department on firms and businesses during the MCO show that almost 65.5% of them face the challenge of lack of customers, while 45% of the companies would take more than 6 months to recover.
Dengan berbelanja, kesan penggandaan dalam ekonomi akan dapat dipertingkatkan, mewujudkan peluang pekerjaan dan seterusnya menambahkan hasil pendapatan rakyat kita. Harapan saya semoga kempen seperti ini akan menjadi satu titik permulaan kepada usaha bersama kita di antara kerajaan, industri dan juga rakyat dalam memastikan kejayaan kita memulihkan ekonomi pasca wabak COVID-19 dapat diteruskan dengan kejayaan merancangkan semula ekonomi negara kita.
The Premier said this when launching the national level mega sales program and Buy Malaysian Products campaign at Suria KLCC. To ensure that the campaign would give a major impact on the local retail sector, he said the government via Penjana had allocated 20 million ringgit for a campaign to prioritize the use of local goods and services. Meanwhile, the Premier said Malaysia needs to have the capability to produce critical products. This, according to him, covered the food and beverage sector, medical devices, medicines, petrochemicals and personal protective equipment like gloves and face masks. The Premier said the world, including Malaysia, has been grappling with the challenge of weak economic growth in the wake of the coronavirus pandemic, adding that small and medium enterprises, SMEs, medium-sized companies and multinationals have faced difficulties in terms of cash flow and loss or drop in customers. He said supply chains were also affected, especially for industries and the services sector, which depend on raw materials, components and imports.
Justru kerajaan mengkaji dan menilai semula dasar sedia ada untuk mengurangkan kebergantungan kepada produk import dan memberikan keutamaan kepada pembinaan keupayaan industri tempatan untuk mengeluarkan produk buatan Malaysia. Dan apabila negara kita mempunyai keupayaan seperti ini, maka kita mampu untuk mengurangkan aliran keluar mata wang Malaysia dan seterusnya meningkatkan ekspor barangan tempatan kita.
He also said to help industries and SMEs overcome their cash flow problems, the government had introduced various incentives under the Prihatin Rakyat Economic Stimulus Package, Prihatin, and the National Economic Recovery Plan, Penjana. Economic activities at the state and grassroots levels must be revitalized to ensure that they would generate economic growth for the country, which has been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic globally. Reports by international institutions, among them the World Bank, stated that Malaysia is among the earliest countries to record economic growth next year at a rate of 6.3% to 7.5%. Nevertheless, Senior Minister cum Minister of International Trade and Industry, Dato Sri Muhammad Azmin Ali, stressed that the economic growth could only be achieved if the economy of the state and grassroots levels, including small and medium enterprises, SMEs, small traders, and the main economic sectors in the states could be reactivated.
Oleh kerana komitmen yang begitu besar diberikan dalam usaha untuk mengekang penularan ini, kita juga memberikan komitmen yang sama untuk mencerdaskan semula ekonomi negara dan juga negeri Melaka. Dan kita telah menyatakan bahawa semua sektor telah mula beroperasi, maka saya dan pengurusan MITI termasuk MIDA, Matrid turun untuk melihat apakah halangan yang dihadapi oleh sektor-sektor ini.
The minister was met after making a working visit to see the homestay activities in Alai and SMEs in Umbai, Melaka. Meanwhile, Dato Sri Muhammad Azmin said to revitalize the country's tourism sector, the federal government is studying the proposed travel bubble, which allows residents to travel within the countries involved in the initiative.
Tetapi kalau negara itu sudah diisytihar sebagai kawasan hijau, maka kita bersedia untuk membincangkan SOP bagi membolehkan pergerakan, khususnya bagi memulihkan sektor pelancongan. Dan saya yakin sekiranya negara-negara ini, khususnya Singapura, dapat menimbangkan perkara ini dalam masa yang terdekat, ianya dapat menarik lebih banyak pelancong dari luar negara untuk datang ke Malaysia, khususnya di negeri Melaka ini.
He added Malaysia had identified 6 countries under the proposal to discuss border opening, namely Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, Brunei, Vietnam and Japan. On another note, Dato Sri Muhammad Azmin said the government is having discussions with the authorities of the United States to address the detention order imposed on the world's biggest rubber glove manufacturer, Top Glove Corp Berhad, by the US Customs on imports from 2 of its subsidiaries. The senior minister said the company is currently engaging with US authorities to ensure undisrupted supply of rubber gloves amidst the global COVID-19 crisis after the US Customs placed Top Glove Sdn Bhd and TG Medical Sdn Bhd on its withhold release order list. In a filing with Bursa Malaysia on Thursday, Top Gloves said there was a possibility that the US sanction might be related to foreign labor issues, which the company had already resolved except for an issue regarding retrospective payment of recruitment fees by its workers to agents prior to January 2019 without the company's knowledge. Dato Sri Azmin said the ministry hopes that the US administration will be able to assess the issue involving the foreign workers fairly.
Kita berharap pentadbiran Amerika Syarikat dapat memberikan keadilan kepada syarikat-syarikat yang bertaraf antarabangsa ini yang telah memberikan satu bantuan yang besar ketika PKP baru-baru ini. Tapi kalau ada isu-isu tertentu, then we will discuss and try to impress and convince the authority that Top Glove should be allowed to resume the operations and to export the product to American market.
The country's domestic tourism sector, which is also badly affected by the COVID-19 pandemic following enforcement of the Movement Control Order MCO, will recover earlier than expected. In stating this, Tourism, Arts and Culture Minister Dato Sri Nancy Shukri said this is prompted by the high level of compliance with the prescribed standard operating procedures SOP by the public. Meanwhile, Dato Sri Nancy also clarified that up to 75% occupancy rate of hotels in the country was for popular hotels like those at resorts and tourist destinations such as in Langkawi.
Pada beberapa minggu yang lepas kita dapat melihat terutama sekali hotel-hotel yang berhampiran dengan laut, ada beach, ada yang mempunyai daya tarikan sendiri. Adanya kalau kita pergi hujung minggu begini ada sudah mencapai 70 sampai 100% yang di Langkawi. Kita sendiri memantaunya. Cuma dari segi keseluruhannya, kalau kita melihat dari segi purata seluruh negara memang dari 21 hingga 30%.
Speaking to reporters after visiting several tourist spots in Kuala Lumpur, like Dataran Merdeka, Eco Forest Park and the Royal Museum, she said this high level of compliance with the SOP provides an assurance for the people that it is safe to travel in the country. In the Dewan Rakyat sitting 2 days ago, Datuk Seri Nancy was reported to have said that the country's tourism sector is estimated to suffer losses amounting to 45 billion ringgit this year as a result of the closure of the country's borders due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The government will introduce a program aimed at inculcating the spirit of patriotism among Malaysians to replace the National Service Training Program (PLKN) and the National Civics Bureau (BTN), which were abolished by the previous government. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Special Functions, Datuk Seri Muhammad Redzuan Yusof, said the structure for the proposed program is being finalised and would be tabled to the Cabinet soon. The minister said the new program would combine the syllabus and training of both PLKN and BTN, comprising patriotism, the constitution, nationhood and racial unity.
Kita tengok target audience atau the stakeholders or people orang yang kita nak latih, orang yang kita nak beri perkongsian ilmu dan sebagainya, kefahaman dari segi perlembagaan dan sebagainya. Saya sebutkan tadi beberapa peringkat kepimpinan, tadbir urus, mungkin juga melibatkan kesemua. Kita lebih kepada patriotism, lebih kepada mahu mewujudkan satu bangsa yang bersatu padu di negara kita ini menerusi perlembagaan dan rukun negara.
Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Religious Affairs, Datuk Seri Dr. Zulkifli Muhammad Al-Bakri, said he is ready to meet non-governmental organizations to discuss issues relating to the lesbian, gay, bisexuals and transgender LGBT community. The minister said he had received many invitations from various NGOs to have dialogues on the matter.
Saya nyatakan kita bukan menggunakan JAKIM yang guna penguat kuasa daripada Jawi, dan apa yang kita nak tekankan di sini bukanlah kita bersifat setiap orang kita nak tangkap, itu bukan kerja kita. Tapi apa yang kita nak bentangkan di sini, jika sekiranya dia boleh menggugah emosi orang-orang yang lain. Bayangkan cerita ni akan panjang, tapi insya-Allah dengan adanya dialog, dengan adanya perbincangan, kita boleh harmonikan dan kita boleh faham.
The minister added that the existing laws in the country are sufficient to address LGBT-related issues. Datuk Seri Dr. Zulkifli was met after handing over Musaadah COVID-19 donations to recipients from the B40 group at Bukit Payong, Kuala Terengganu. New COVID-19 cluster found in Stutong Wet Market, Sarawak. No matter how further the science advances, blood, which is part of human body, cannot be artificially created. And that is why blood donation is more precious than anything else in the world. Realizing the importance of this and to ensure a continuous supply of blood, which is expected to run low, especially during the current challenging period, Key Rhythm Foundation is having its 2-day blood donation drive starting today. Head of Rhythm Foundation, Shanti Priyasamy, said this blood donation drive was the second to be organized this year by the Key Rhythm Foundation to help the National Blood Centre to replenish their reserve.
And we really take this opportunity to thank the heroes, as we would say, the heroes, who have actually realized the need for this blood donation. Through technology, today we are able to create anything at all. However, blood is something that nobody can create, right? And blood is continuously needed, especially in today's situation where we are facing the pandemic of COVID-19.
With the theme Save Lives, Donate Now, the blood donation drive in collaboration with the National Blood Centre is expected to attract more than 200 blood donors. The 2-day drive will be held from 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. at Sunway Pyramid Shopping Mall. A new cluster has been detected at a market in Tutong, Sarawak, and it was identified as Tutong Cluster. Health Director General Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said 2 positive COVID-19 cases were detected from samples taken from 56 individuals, while the remaining 54 were negative. In a statement today, the Health DG said the cluster was discovered from COVID-19 screenings of market hawkers identified as one of the target groups under the targeted approach. A total of 218 hawkers in the area had been screened, comprising 213 Malaysians and 5 foreigners. He said the market has been temporarily closed to carry out preventive measures and infection control, adding that the source of the cluster is still under investigation. Meanwhile, the number of new COVID-19 cases in the country returned to a single digit today, with only 9 new cases recorded, 4 of which are imported and 5 local transmission cases. Dr. Nur Hisham said this brings the cumulative figure of positive cases to 8,764, while the number of active cases now stood at 96. Meanwhile, no deaths were reported, and death toll due to COVID-19 remains at 122 since the 10th of July. He also said that 5 cases had recovered and discharged today, bringing the cumulative number for recoveries to 8,546 cases, while only 1 case was still treated in the intensive care unit. An estimated 20,000 Malaysians are still stranded abroad as they are unable to return home due to the closure of borders because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Special Functions, Datuk Seri Muhammad Redzwan Yusof, said the government is looking into the matter, including finding ways to bring home all the students in stages. The minister said there are several matters that had to be considered, like on the legal aspects, before the government can carry out a mission to bring home the students.
Mereka pun ramai, di Middle East pun ada, di India pun ada, kan? Jadi kita sedang mempengaruhi kos-kos itu. Kita tak mau bertanggungjawabkan semua kepada kerajaan. Ya. Contoh saya sebutkan tadi, kalau Kementerian Pelajaran yang ada sponsor-sponsor, yang first dia dah tamat pengajian. Jadi selalunya bila tamat pengajian, sponsor tanggungjawab untuk bawa mereka balik. Jadi kita gunakan itu.
Datuk Seri Muhammad Redzwan was met at a program with the Zone 5 Civil Defence Force APM in Kota Baru. A total of 96 Malaysians stranded in India landed at the Kuala Lumpur International Airport KLIA at 6:31 a.m. today on a Malindo Air flight from New Delhi. Out of the 96 Malaysians, 62 are among the Tabligh members who were stranded in India since March this year. The 62 Tabligh members were taken to the Higher Education Leadership Academy, AKEPT, in Bandar Enstek Nilai, Negeri Sembilan, to undergo a 14-day mandatory quarantine. The humanitarian mission to bring back the Malaysians from New Delhi was coordinated by the National Disaster Management Agency, NADMA.
Mereka telah menjalani tapisan kesihatan di India dan saringan kesihatan mendapati mereka tidak mempunyai apa-apa gejala yang membolehkan mereka menaiki aircraft.
Foreign Minister Datuk Seri Syamuddin Tun Hussein in a statement said the 62 Tabligh members had been arrested by the Indian authorities for allegedly misusing their social visit visa to conduct religious activities. However, most of them had undergone the legal process and were freed of the charge. He also noted that the Foreign Ministry, in collaboration with the Malaysian High Commission in India, will continue to coordinate efforts to bring home Tabligh members still stranded in the country. He said the government would make an announcement on the mission to bring them home from time to time. A total of 707 Malaysians returned via the Kuala Lumpur International Airport KLIA and KLIA-2 yesterday. Senior Minister Security Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said all of them arrived from 11 countries, namely China, Indonesia, Qatar, the United Arab Emirates, Singapore, Cambodia, the Philippines, Hong Kong, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia and Japan. In a statement, the senior minister said that while 706 of them were ordered to undergo compulsory home quarantine, one was taken to hospital for further tests. Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri added that from the 10th of June up to yesterday, a total of 20,080 individuals had been screened upon their arrival at KLIA, with 76 testing positive for COVID-19 and subsequently being sent to the hospital for treatment. The rest, he said, were ordered to undergo home quarantine. Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri also pointed out that a total of 14 people were arrested yesterday for defying the Recovery Movement Control Order (RMCO). The senior minister said that while 3 of them were remanded, the other 11 were issued with compounds. Among the offences included taking part in events involving huge crowds, which hindered social distancing, and activities which violated the standard operating procedures. In a release statement, the minister added that the Compliance Operation Task Force, headed by the Royal Malaysia Police (PDRM), also conducted 62,386 checks to monitor and enforce SOP compliance during the RMCO. He also said that 9 foreigners were detained under Ops Benteng, which was carried out to tighten security at the country's borders to prevent infiltration by illegal immigrants in an effort to curb cross-border crime as well as the spread of COVID-19. The Immigration Department will be improving the Malaysian immigration system, which was found to be unable to confirm the movement of foreigners after frequent breaking down to a better system called the National Integrated Immigration System, NIISE. Home Minister Datuk Seri Hamzah Zainuddin said the new system would address all the weaknesses of the old system, and it is expected to be implemented in 3 years from now. Speaking at a media conference in Teluk Melano, Sematan, Sarawak today, Datuk Seri Hamzah said the ministry have called several major companies to tender for an improved system for the department.
Kita akan pertingkatkan dengan sistem baru kita yang kita bukan hanya mengenal pasti orang keluar dan masuk, orang masuk dan keluar, tetapi juga mereka yang overstay dalam negara kita. Jadi itu semua akan kita pertingkatkan dengan sistem baru kita. Kita juga akan bergabung, kita akan cooperate dengan agensi-agensi lain di Kementerian Dalam Negeri melalui PDRM, dengan sistem kita yang ada, melalui Jabatan Pendaftaran Negara dengan sistem kita yang ada. Ini apabila kita pertingkatkan, kita akan lebih jelas dan kita akan lebih tahu berapa ramai yang sebenarnya yang tidak ada dokumen dalam negara kita.
He told a media conference after conducting a visit to the General Operations Force Sub-Tactical Team in Teluk Melano near the Malaysian-Indonesian border, Sematan, Sarawak today. The Auditor General's Report 2018 Series 3, which was tabled in Parliament earlier this week, found almost 214,400 foreigners did not have record of exiting Malaysia since the 15th of April, when the IMM's system recorded 4,489 incidents of system failure from 2016 to 2018. That concludes this evening's news at 10. In our top story, Malaysians urged to spend for country's economic recovery. Join us again at 10 tomorrow evening. I'm Cynthia Arthur. Stay tuned to Saluran Berita RTM and have a pleasant evening.